Hi everyone, it's Rene here again from ChampionsEverywhere and Primal3. So I'm just wanted you to join me for my own experiment with a new recipe of the bulletproof coffee. So I think there's so many out there now, and almost everyone has heard of it at this stage. But basically my situation is as follows. So I have had kind of a busy afternoon. I had a late breakfast. I'm not terribly hungry. But I am just getting a little bit of a tinge of hunger, and I have quite a hard training session coming up in the afternoon. So I wanted to get something into me, but I didn't have time to cook. So I've had some coffee brewing here on the stove. I'll just remove the water. So for the recipe that you'll see, we're using light roast coffee. In this case the beans are from 3V. I am preparing roughly what would be 1.5 cups. And I have a number of other ingredients here that we're going to try and put in. It's the first time I'm actually combining all of these, so we'll see whether it works or not. Just to give us a little bit more light, I'll put on the full spectrum light bulb. So the full spectrum light bulb is just an example of, it's kind of one of those indoor hacks that you can do. So a lot of the light that we use in a traditional light bulb, it's an artificial spectrum. It's very heavy on blue light, which has a very destructive effect on something called DHA, which most of you know is fish oil in our tissues. It's kind of would be too big a topic to cover here, but now full spectrum light bulb doesn't solve that problem, but it does give us a slightly more natural light for our bodies to interact with, because it's at least similar to what you would get outside, and it has a lot of those frequencies that are missing in blue light. So we have that behind us here as we're cooking this up. The coffee will be ready within the next 2 or 3 minutes, and in the meantime I'm going to just prepare the other ingredients. They say that one of the things that makes the difference between whether bulletproof coffee is a disaster or not is whether you actually use a blender. So I've decided to put up my blender here, and that's what makes it kind of frothy and creamy, like something you'd get in a cafe, rather than maybe a little bit on the nasty side. So I'm going to put in 1 heaped teaspoonful of raw organic cacao powder. We're going to put in 1 spoonful of coconut powder, about 100 grams of butter. Now the next thing might worry some people. This is new, it's the first time I've done this, in Phil Maffetone's recipe. Yeah, it's in an egg yolk as well, or full egg. Some people might be worried about raw eggs. I wouldn't be, because the water that is in the coffee is about 95 degrees warm, so I'm happy enough with that. But obviously, if this disturbs you, you can leave out the egg. I'm just really curious to see how that will make the coffee look and how to make it taste. And finally, I love vanilla powder. Just wash my hands here. Yeah, I love the taste of vanilla, so I have this vanilla powder grinder. Just try a little bit of sweetness, because I won't have any kind of sweetener in the coffee otherwise. So I'm hoping the vanilla will just round off the taste a little bit. So we are almost there, and if you don't have the patience to use kind of a pour-over style, this is a Chemex coffee maker, which is kind of an old-fashioned way of making coffee. You could use a French press, or you could have your espresso machine on standby in the corner, you know, and just run through an Americano and then top the rest up with water that's close to boiling but not quite boiling, right? So for most of the coffee experts out there recommend that the water is 93 to 95 degrees, so you avoid actually burning the beans and ruining the coffee. Okay, so let's see how much do we have. Yeah, we're almost there. I'm just going to give it one more pour, just for a little bit more liquid. My cup ready to go here. So while we wait, you know, you might have questions like, that's a lot of fat and protein to get into one meal, and obviously this type of food solution like a bulletproof coffee, it's not a magical solution to anything, and it has to be put in the context of an actual, what would you say, balanced diet. The word balanced diet, I was just about to use it, but basically if you are generally eating well, and you have used solutions like, if you know how to use a solution like bulletproof coffee, so actually in this case it's a meal replacement, right? I'm not eating a big bowl of pasta with a sauce from a can, and then I'm having my bulletproof coffee on top of that. You know, that's obviously going to lead to disaster, and it's also going to lead to disaster if you think that simply sipping down bulletproof coffees with lots of coconut butter and normal butter is going to make you some kind of fat burning machine on its own. Because anyone who has read the literature that's out there now, you know that the environment is the most important thing. So it's more important what I did this morning, for instance. So everyone who is in this coaching system now, the first 2 or 3 minutes of the day, we know they're critical. We have to go out, we have to look towards the sun with our eyes exposed. That means no contact lenses, no glasses. Get 2 to 3 minutes of those morning sun rays. That sets up the circadian rhythms then for the day. So that means my factory is now running on the right shift. It's not the night shift, it knows the day shift is coming up. So at least things are beginning to be in the right place when they should be. Then we can start worrying about the other 2 factors, apart from, this is an environmental factor, it's a lifestyle factor. So we can worry about the other 2, which is exercise and nutrition. So bulletproof coffee, in a way, it's way down the line of your priorities. And I really only wanted to show it here because I was going to make this for the first time, and I thought it would be really fun to film it, and maybe others would like to try this weird recipe, or you might not. Now, if you see in a moment how it looks, you can make up your mind. I'm just going to throw this coffee residue in the bin. We'll pour our coffee here in the blender. There we go. And we're going to give that a swirl. Just for extra foam, let's use the speed mode. Very good, let's have a look at that. Okay, looks creamy enough. I'm just going to give it one more go. Now, if you're not used to eating a fairly high-fat diet yet, you know, you might still be eating something like 60 to 70% carbs. I don't think you would enjoy this drink. I found when I first started eating a higher fat diet, my tolerance to fatty foods was not as high, because it's something you need to rebuild. And you'll also notice if you're really hungry and if you're not eating a tremendous amount of carbs, then having a high-fat meal is really nice. Your body wants it. But if you have had a massive bowl of porridge in the morning, or if you've just had a bowl of pasta, then eating really fatty foods is quite nauseating. But I just want to give you a look, so I'm just going to walk over and see, can we tip this down so you can see it's nice and frothy and creamy. Maybe not quite what you'd get in a fancy barista, so it's just a taste we need to check in on as well. It's quite nice. It's, if anything, it's a little bit on the cold side. I probably I would use a quicker brewing method next time, just so the water doesn't lose as much heat. It's a little bit on the cold side, but otherwise really tasty. And you can't taste the egg at all, which some of you might be delighted to hear. Yeah, quite pleasant. I might put some cinnamon or something on top just for a little bit of extra flavour. So that was just an example of how to make this, but you probably noticed I really shot this video as much for my own enjoyment and to be able to pass on the context of using stuff like this, because people use bulletproof coffee and other solutions like they are the magical solutions, and if I just do this every morning and then go for a run, all my problems will be solved, you know. And it's similar with that full spectrum light bulb behind me. It's a small solution to a bigger problem, but the real solution is set your lifestyle up so it's in tune with nature's circadian rhythms. Make sure that you remove yourself from a toxic environment. So I'm right here in the Wicklow Mountains, which is, you know, it's reasonably natural environment. That has some advantages. But even here, if I spend all day inside in this kitchen, you know, I won't be my body's not getting the signals it needs to operate optimally. So that would be kind of the message to take away as you enjoy your bulletproof, or this is called Phil's coffee with the cocoa, which is my addendum here. But you might want to add something else, maybe some cinnamon, maybe some matcha powder, which is a lot of the people in our Primal3 group are really, really fond of that, because it tastes great and has a lot of kind of hormone stabilizing effects. So with that message, I'm going to start drinking this before it gets too cold. So I hope you enjoyed it, and it'd be great if you shared some of your own recipes and your own experiences. But most of all, it'd be really, really great if you take away the key message: environment first, and then we do all these funny little hacks or biohacks. So enjoy that, guys, and as always, we hope to talk to you later.